Going to be reviewing Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. This is the sequel to the phenomenon of the first Black Panther movie, which came out in 2018. Huge success, $1 billion movie. Everybody was hyped for the movie.
Best Picture nominee.
Best Picture nominee, along with Oscar winner of costume design. It won also an Oscar for, and everything like that. I think
and
also
Best Original Score for Ludwig Göransson.
Best Original Score for Ludwig Göransson, who comes back in this sequel. And by the way, I will say the score for this movie is just as good as well.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Banger.
Absolutely enjoyed the music and score of this movie like I did the first one. So in this sequel, obviously, due to tragic events that most people know, Chadwick Boseman, who was the star of the first Black Panther movie, he was the titular character. He was T'Challa. He was the Black Panther. Passed away. He passed away due to cancer, and it was kind of shocked everybody. Came out of nowhere. He really didn't disclose that information that he was sick to anyone. And they did have a script that was finished before he died. I don't know if he had it. I don't think he got a chance to read it before he died. But after his death, of course, they had to kind of restructure it, rewrite it around characters to kind of make it fit due to his passing. And there's been a lot of discussion whether or not they should have recasted T'Challa and everything like that. That's kind of been a big movement behind it. But you do have this film that is dealing with the aftermath of his death. Because they have killed his character off in the MCU as well, T'Challa, after Chadwick Boseman did pass away. And they addressed that right away. It's the beginning of the movie. It's not, they don't work your way, they don't try to work people into it. It's just straight off the bat. They have the scene where they talk about T'Challa has died, and they are kind of vague about it. They just say he died of an illness. So it's kind of very vague and everything like that. So a lot of this movie.
That's a thing in screenwriting where you kind of have circumstances like this. Characters tend to be pretty vague about the circumstances around the character or thus the actor's death. They just say it's an illness, which I think every time you mention T'Challa in the script, you can just swap out the name Chadwick and nothing changes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So a lot of this. So a lot of this movie is dealing with these characters, after his death and where they are now, particularly Shuri, Queen Ramonda, who's played by Angela Bassett, who now is the new ruler of Wakanda after the death of T'Challa. And it's kind of dealing with a lot of that. Also, you have a new threat that is coming to Wakanda, particularly in the form of Namor. Who is the king and ruler of the Talokians, as they are called, and they live in an underwater empire that is called Talokan. They share, a lot of kind of similarities in their culture, and they kind of have a new kind of threat in there where you have them. So we're going to do some non-spoiler thoughts and a review first before we get into a little bit of a spoiler discussion, but we'll make sure to let you know when we're going to be doing spoilers because obviously this is a big movie. A lot of people want to see it. We don't want to be assholes about it and spoil the movie for people who haven't gotten a chance to see the film yet and everything like that. So, make sure everybody gets a chance to give their thoughts, give their piece about the movie, go around and see what they thought about it. I'll go last about it. So I'm going to pass it to somebody else. I'm going to pass it to Nick. Nick, give us your thoughts on Wakanda Forever here.
So, at least for the first act of this movie, I think you could switch out the Black Panther Wakanda Forever to Black Panther Emotional Damage because just the way this film opens, this very heartfelt tribute to damage. Yes, this very heartbreaking scene of Shuri trying to do her damnedest to save T'Challa, which very much informs her entire character arc throughout this movie. It's heartbreaking, and I know the whole critic community, they like to dog on Marvel movies about being the same, being very blockbuster heavy. I think next to the original Black Panther, this is probably one of the best screenplays of a Marvel film, period,
Oh,
because
definitely.
it is so deeply character driven, and everybody's motivation is like spelled out, and these actors are giving it their A game. Angela Bassett, it is a travesty that she has not won an Academy Award yet,
Oh,
but
definitely.
this is her fucking year. This is an amazing, outstanding performance.
Can we
Every
all
little
agree that Angela Bassett should have been Storm?
Yeah.
would
been
agree,
great.
but she would have been phenomenal. But I think we wouldn't have gotten this incredible performance as Queen Ramonda, because even when she's like playing tough for the UN, a friend of mine told me that that's a Black Mamba moment. That's like, okay. He's like, you're trying to steal our vibranium. Okay, try again.
Wow.
But yeah, going to Tenoch Huerta as a Namor or a Kukulkan. Oh my god, he is probably. I think Marvel has kind of gone through a bit of a renaissance with their villain characters, especially throughout Phase 3 and 4. They've developed them way better. They've been much more developed in these later movies than they have been in the past. And Namor, I think, is up there with antagonists because I think he is this just incredibly dynamic presence. There's this almost calm menace to him every time he is on screen, where he is giving dialogue and you don't know where his mind is at. Like at one point he's in awe of Wakanda, but he's also has this undercurrent of step to me and I'm gonna fuck you up.
Yeah.
and even in and I think this is like one of the best portrayal castings of an actor because he balances that menace with that kind of benevolent ruler. That I think, wow, it's kind of amazing. I can't think of a single example where they fucked it up just this year of having this kind of morally ambiguous, super powerful ruler. And you see his side and what he's going for, but you also understand where he's going a little too far.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't think of a single rock answer about where that could have gone wrong.
Sebastian, some of your thoughts.
Yeah, so I thought before I watched this movie, I wasn't a big fan of the first movie. I thought I was kind of underwhelmed by it. I thought it kind of followed the Marvel formula a little too much. But rewatching it earlier, like literally an hour ago, I was like, what is wrong with me? Like this movie's great. I love this movie. I love the characters. I love the performances. And even though it does have a little bit of the Marvel formula, it's still great. And even like the weaknesses of that movie are because it follows the Marvel formula.
Yeah,
But this movie, it's like strip away the Marvel. I don't see any almost except for people flying and people doing other stuff. I don't see any signs of like a Marvel movie here at all. Except for like the usual like action scenes and stuff like that. But this movie's just great all around. Like again, the screenplay. I agree with you, Nick. It's one of the best Marvel's ever done. It's probably in the top 3 up there for sure. The performances are phenomenal. Everyone is great. Angela Bassett kills sitting in this movie. I mean,
she came to eat that fucking Oscar trophy.
Yes. In some scenes, I was like, "Oh shit!" I'm genuinely scared. I'm like, "Please!" I'm not even in the room with her. I'm like, "Oh shit!" I'm sorry. I didn't do anything.
It's like I feel whenever she gets authoritative, I feel like I need to get a switch.
I was like, shit, okay, I'm sorry. But she is great. Her character's great. I love Shuri's arc in this movie. I love where she starts and her emotional, like, just like the complexity of like where she's going on the journey and where she ends up later on. It's fantastic. I love the returning characters. Okoye, I always loved her in every appearance, and she's still great here. And yeah, Namor, I love this iteration. I've never been a big fan of that character. I always thought like, all right, he's Aquaman, but pissed off, and that's it.
He is dickhead Aquaman.
Yeah, that's all he is.
He's douchebag Aquaman, but not Jason Momoa like fun douchebag Aquaman.
No,
he's just
not at all.
he's a dick. He's just a
Exactly.
dick that is just prancing around that like speedo bulge trying to fuck Sue Storm.
Right? It's like I don't know that character. I was always interested in seeing like if he ever was gonna make a full feature appearance, but here I love how different they were with him. I love the respect they give to Mesoamerican culture. I love how big percentage of this movie is in a different language that's not English. You know, it's like it's African. There's also like I don't know if it's Incan or Mayan. I don't know, but you know, you can correct me in the comments.
I think they said it was because a third of it is spoken in Xhosa, which is a mix of a whole bunch of different African dialects. There's some Spanish, and I think they said it was a Yucatan.
Yucatan. Okay. So it was mostly most times we saw their culture. It's like it was in that language. I was surprised. Like, oh shit, they're actually taking it there because they could always gone to the different route. Like, oh, let's just speak English, but they're actually speaking their language. But like, no, we're gonna speak in their language. You're gonna hear it, and you got to do some reading, people. I'm sorry if you don't like reading subtitles. You gotta sit down and do your.
If you don't like reading subtitles, grow the fuck up.
Yeah, right.
It adds like an authenticity to it.
Definitely. So I love that, and his character and Donut Huertas is also like phenomenal in this movie. It's like, god damn, he has like the charisma, but he can also be intimidating, and I'm like, oh shit, like I don't want to fuck with this guy. He looks like a cool guy I can hang out with and have dinner with, but I don't want to piss him off. He can snap my neck and I'm dead.
Yeah,
but
I can hang with Tano Chuerta.
Yeah, I can hang
I
out
don't
with
know if I can hang with Namor.
Because like there's some scenes with like when Namor's like, oh my god, he looks like pretty sweet, you know, he's pretty nice, but I don't know when it comes to other things, I'm like, don't piss him off. Which he has reasons to be pissed off for sure, but for this movie,
and he has reasons to be pissed off, which I think tie back into a lot of the themes that were touched on in the first film about kind of the evils of colonialism. And I think they're explored with much more depth there here than they were in the previous film. And not to knock the original Black Panther at all, but I think because we kind of get more of that villain perspective from his side.
Exactly. And for this movie, what I loved more than the first one, it was more areas. There's a little bit of darkness in this movie too. I mean, not that the first movie didn't have the seriousness and the darkness, but this one is like more on that level. It was more emotional driven, character driven.
There are points with the early scenes of the Talokan and how they're introduced where it kind of borders on horror almost, which I really love that Marvel is going more into the horror toolbox with this phase, especially with stuff like Doctor Strange with Werewolf by Night.
Exactly, and this is really although I don't like this Phase 4 as much. There's a lot of movies and shows I just like didn't hit for me. But what I like about Marvel doing this phase is they're more confident in taking risks. Like, hey, we're gonna do some more brutal kills. We're gonna do some horror stuff. We're gonna do some things that are outside of the formula we've been doing for more than a decade now. So that's what I appreciate.
They have this long established brand of trust with an audience and you've kind of gotten the first big phase out of the way with Thanos. So now we can do weird shit.
Yeah, and this, I mean, I'll say it right now. This is the movie. Even though I love now the first movie after rewatching it now, this is a movie where I felt like Ryan Coogler was super confident in himself with the script writing, because I know he wrote the script, like co-wrote the script, the story, and I felt his confidence in the direction and just everything. He was like, all right, this is my movie. Because the first one kind of felt more like a trial run. Marvel's like, all right, we can give you Black Panther, but we'll see how it goes. If it goes well, we can give you free reign for the second movie. This just felt more like his movie.
Yeah, the way I feel about Black Panther is kind of the same way I feel about Shang-Chi. Because you have these two kind of indie directors with both Ryan Coogler and Destin Daniel Cretton, where you kind of give them a project where the screenplay and the whole kind of Marvel formula, it doesn't really allow them to play into their strengths as filmmakers. Because Coogler is much more interested in like the human drama between characters and delving into a lot of the social issues surrounding them. And Creighton is very much in the same way, especially with something like Shang-Chi. And with this movie, I think Marvel took a look at him and said, you know what? You made us all of the money in the world and you got us a Best Picture nomination. hands off, bro.
Yeah, it's like, you're free to do whatever you want. I felt it in his direction and rating, everything. Like the performances
Yeah,
came out like, so well filmed.
where the first Black Panther, it felt like a Marvel Studios movie directed by Ryan Coogler.
Exactly.
This felt like a Ryan Coogler movie that is like produced and released by Marvel Studios.
Exactly, and I love them. I wish Marvel. I think guys are doing it more now in this phase for sure. They're giving creators more free reign to do what they want. I mean, sometimes it'll go off the rails, kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy 2, when they give too much free reign, at least for me. But for this one, Ryan Coogler was like,
yeah,
he had a better
I kind of see. Yeah, I kind of see that argument with something like Eternals, where I felt like they kind of needed to give Chloe Zhao a little bit more of a firm hand on the formula. But I say this as someone that actually kind of liked Eternals.
I love that.
But moving on.
I love that movie. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I love Eternals. But yeah, this one
I was just about to say, am I the only person who liked Eternals?
No, I love them. I'm the very small minority that love Eternals. I was like, what are people talking about?
It was a good movie. It did exactly what it was supposed to do.
I like the movie, but moving on to another really good movie, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever.
Yeah. Kason, what did you?
No, but
What you want to jump in here, Kason?
Of course. You know, I was trying to be that good kid in the back of the class waiting my turn. But Black Panther: Wakanda Forever was a great movie. It was far superior to the first movie. Ryan Coogler, oh my God, his writing is so amazing. Like the attention to detail. Oh, I can't wait till we get to the spoiler part because it's like even the fight scenes, like specific things they did for the fight scenes were so good.
so good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
CG was better.
and just yeah, this because as much as I love the first Black Panther, the CG towards the end, even when they fixed it for the Blu-ray and the Disney Plus release, it still kind of looks like PlayStation 4 graphics.
Yeah, the CG's in the movie is a little rough, but this one is like great. They give them all the budget. Like, hey, you know what?
Say
First we'll make
PlayStation 4.
Yeah, I see why they took the VFX artist off of She-Hulk.
Oh, yeah. Good callback. But
Worth
yeah,
it.
I like the cinematography of this movie. I was like, holy shit! I mean, god damn, like the visuals.
Everything on this movie was pretty good. I don't think this movie really had any weak points. Action was fire. Storytelling was fire. It was just an amazing movie altogether.
Okay.
I think for certain people, if they didn't understand the fact that like what just happened to Chadwick can kind of confuse them on like why they chose to spend so much focus on that. But yeah.
Yeah. If anything, I think you kind of have to know that happened prior to walking into this movie, because the first act of this, especially like the first 20 or so minutes of the movie, is essentially a eulogy for Chadwick Boseman, and especially like towards the very end of the film and more in the post credits. That is this entire cast and this entire crew saying their goodbyes and paying respect to this icon of a human being.
Yeah.
And it was so heartbroken. Like the beginning, just like those first minutes, I'm like, god damn. Like the theater.
I saw the movie. I saw the movie with because just like a quick thing for the Marvel Studios logo, they, the usual fanfare. They didn't do any of that this time. They just played a highlight reel of Chadwick in the MCU, and it was a moment of silence, which you could hear a pin drop in my theater.
Oh yeah.
It was
Same.
fuck, I was crying.
Right.
Yeah. So with this movie here, I also forgot to mention that you do have a kind of a foreign nations threat with this movie as well, not only just from the Talokians, but also from the United Nations as well. Because if you remember,
of course, the greatest enemy of the white man.
White people.
So you do have that in here as well, as because if you remember at the end of the first Black Panther movie, they were like, "Hey, listen, we're going to reveal ourselves to the world. We're going to open up and share our technology, our knowledge in order to help other countries." And I've seen a complaint about this movie that it's just the same movie over again. It's the same kind of it's the same as the first movie.
Okay, tell me you. Okay, tell me you don't watch movies without telling me.
What is so similar on it?
And I disagree with that point because to hear people talk about it, it's like, well, it's dealing with the same issues and colonialism. But I think the difference is like, if what you want a sequel to do is you want it to follow up with the first movie. And the first movie ended with, T'Challa saying like, hey, we're going to reveal ourselves to the world, taking the lessons from Killmonger in order to help other people. And this is dealing with some of the ramifications of that. It's dealing with that even though they are doing it, they have these outreach centers. They're doing their best to help these other countries. These other countries they're still greedy. They still like, yeah, that's all cool and all, but what about that vibranium?
Other countries are not as altruistic as T'Challa would have liked to have believed, and especially because we're seeing this in the aftermath of everything that's happened in the universe, especially post Blip. Because who knows what the fuck happened in the 5 years between everyone coming back? Who knows how much of those outreach centers have been ravaged that Wakanda is like, okay, fuck trading vibranium. We're done with that now.
Yeah. So you kind of do have that element in there. So I think it does do a good job of following up with that. And then in this movie also you have Namor, who people have compared to like, oh, well, he's just another kind of Killmonger type character. And I disagree because, they kind of, there's some similarities there, but I think the difference is this is how you do an anti-hero. Black Adam, as much as they were talking about this movie is about the anti-hero.
This is how you do a morally complex and morally ambiguous figurehead, in an actual definition of an anti-hero, where he is doing horrific things and has horrific goals, but he has them with the noblest of intentions.
Yeah. So I think this is how you do. This is how you write an anti-hero and give him some good motivation. I think the difference is, Killmonger. At the end of the day, I mean, even though he was prioritizing black people, I mean, he was very selfish, and that was like kind of one of his hugest downfalls. And he was just only motivated purely by revenge and purely by anger and vengeance. And you kind of saw that. And with Namor, you see with his people, you see where he's the leader of this, and you see, and basically, great job, by the way, of them showing the city of Talokan. And I like that they made that change of not just making
James Cameron, eat your heart out.
And I like how they just didn't make it Atlantis again. I actually think that was a good decision, like bringing all that Mesoamerican Aztec kind of culture in there. And you see the way that the people are dressed, and Namor, I mean, he's all dripped out when you see him, when he's talking to people and everything. He's got his casual...
His throne is a motherfucking megalodon's jaw, and it's awesome.
I like when he's got his headdress on and his kind of royal outfit. Like, he looks cool, and you see kind of like, I like how they show that these two countries kind of mirror each other. They got their own version of their like Wakanda Forever, where they say rise Talokan. They got their own like Wakanda Forever salute where they do the Kamehameha, like they do kind of that. They got their own level.
Which was not actually in the script. Tenoch Huerta and the actress who's one of his generals, they came up with it on like one of the days that they were shooting.
Oh,
because they saw how much Wakanda Forever and Black Panther, how big of a cultural impact that movie had, and they wanted to give that to the Latino community. So they said,
got their own
Rise Talokan.
Great.
Kasim, what did you think about Namor and Talokan and everything like that? Get you a little bit here. If you want to kind of come in and what did you think about Namor and Talokan?
Namor was perfect. It's funny that people gave complaints about it because you can tell people the difference between people who read the comics and people who don't. Ironically, T'Challa is more like Namor in this than he is like T'Challa in the actual movies. he's very much anything for Wakanda. Like, I will burn the world to protect Wakanda. So Namor having that kind of energy, and even the way that his name is Namor up here instead of Namor, and the reason why it's Namor is just beautiful. Like, the way he's written is great. The actor was great. My only issue, and it's not even a big issue, I just really wish they could have got him younger, just like 5 to 10 years younger, because he's a character I really could see, being in the Marvel Cinematic Universe for a while. But with the actor being already in his 40s, if I'm not mistaken, you have about a 10-year lifespan on him.
Okay.
Good
Interesting.
point. I mean, for my issue, like
It was
I have
only
with-
Yeah.
my issue with like Telecom is like I felt. I mean, it's not an issue. It's more like something I'm just thinking because the negatives that I have are something are more of like I need more time to think about this and see how I feel about it later. And one of those things is like for Telecom, I felt like I love how they showed the culture. I love how the good references of like the Mesoamerican and all that stuff. But I felt like even though I thought they did great, and I felt like I knew the city, but at the same time, I felt like I didn't know the city. I felt like I needed more time with the people. Other than Namor, I don't know who other people are there. I'm like, I don't know who the general guy is, the woman. I don't know anyone there. I was like, who are these people? I have no idea. It's like,
I think a lot of that is because this isn't a Namor film. This isn't really that's not really the focus of the film. The whole idea of introducing the Talokan and giving them this kind of backstory is to, do what any good screenplay does and have you see the antagonist's point of view. And I think more of that is going to get expounded on whenever we get more of Namor in the MCU. But for what purpose it served to give them their side of the story, I thought it worked really well.
Yeah.
that's true. That's true. I mean, I was also thinking about that. Like, I'm sure we're gonna get more of his backstory in his movie or show, whatever that will be.
I think we would have
But
got
for this
more
one,
of that
I needed a little
backstory.
bit more.
Excuse me. I think we would have got more of that backstory if it wasn't for the passing of Chadwick. I think there would have been more of a focus. We would have spent more time there. But because of the passing of Chadwick, you had to dedicate a lot more time to that to make sure it was done correctly. So
And they handled the Chadwick stuff. I thought they handled it super well. That was one of the things I was kind of apprehensive about. Like, what are they gonna do here? Is it gonna be
it's like
a cash grab thing?
the entire announcement after Chadwick's passing is like, even like Josh and I on the show were talking about it. It was like, how the fuck are they gonna pull this off? Because even we kind of had those discussions of, is like not recasting it, is releasing the film just kind of exploiting his memory, and full stop, no, none of that. We were wrong.
No, they did great. And I was one of those people that's like, I think they should have recasted him. But watching this movie now, I'm like, yeah,
Fuck that shit.
Yeah, it would have been tough to recast him because the chemistry would have been different. There's some history there with the actor and the past movies. And just to have a different actor just come out of nowhere in this movie, I don't know if it would have come out as well. I don't think so.
And also, you knocked it out of the park the first time casting him with Chadwick Boseman. You're not gonna like repeat that.
No.
Kasim, you bring up a good point. You brought up, with the time in the movie and it's been dedicated to Chadwick. How did you all feel about the runtime of the movie? This movie clocks in 2 hours and 41 minutes. It's one of the longer MCU movies that we have.
I think it's the second longest next to Avengers Endgame.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel a second of the runtime. I could have sat in that theater for like 20 more minutes.
I didn't feel anything. I was like, I'm here. I mean, maybe the second.
I could have. Like, I'll happily sit in the theater for 3 hours for Black Panther.
Of course.
Wet Fern Gully.
Like maybe in the second act, some little bits I felt the runtime a little bit. I was like, all right, let's go. But then it came back.
I'm sorry, I
was like, all right,
disagree.
I'm still here. So, but
That
yeah, no,
movie
I
was
didn't feel
long.
the runtime at all.
You thought it was too long there, Kasim?
the movie was long.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Now, I'm not gonna say I thought it was too long, but I definitely felt how long the movie was, right? I had time to get up, go to the bathroom real quick, run back, and actually not miss much. But the movie's long,
Mm.
but again, it had to be long because you had to take time to dedicate and do things correctly when it came to the passing of Chadwick. But then you still had to tell a compelling story, and you had to kind of tell an origin story for another character, trying to, not hit the spoilers. And I'm not even referring to Namor. Somebody else kind of had their own new
Well,
origin story.
you can say her. You can say the
And
person
make it
because
connect.
She's in
Okay.
the trailer.
You
It's
can.
a Dominique Thorne playing William
Well,
Ironheart.
no, I'm not even.
And
I don't mean
yeah.
her. I don't
Oh,
mean her. I mean
okay.
Shuri. But
Really?
you see what I mean?
Oh,
When
okay,
you really
okay. I
think
know what you're
about it,
talking about. I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, yeah. Fair enough.
Really?
right? So you have to tell that story, and you have to
Mhm,
make it connect in a way that it connects to the broader MCU while still
Mm.
mhm.
expanding the MCU. So like they had to do a lot in that movie. So I understand the long runtime.
What What do you think about Ironheart though? What do you guys thought about her?
She fucking rules. I cannot wait for her show, especially off the
I
strength
can't
of
wait
this
to.
movie.
I cannot. I
And just perfect casting of Dominique Thorne, who's incredible in a lot of Barry Jenkins films, especially I think if Beale Street Can Talk.
Mhm.
She perfectly encaptures that like wide-eyed spirit, and I kind of feel like listening to a lot of Ryan Coogler interviews. A lot of how she's written in this film is basically him,
Mm.
If
and
Mm.
I'm not
she's like a
mistaken,
source of
she
a lot.
originally tried out for
Yeah,
Shuri.
she's the source of a lot of the levity in this movie because
Oh
she
yeah.
has some of the lines where, yeah, I was chuckling in spite of how emotionally scarred I am.
She's probably the only character that does some humor because everyone else is like serious. And not that there's anything negative about it. I actually prefer it more that way. But
Yeah.
she is the only one that's like actually cracking a smile sometimes. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
shit, very cool. There's some levity in here.
Uh,
But
yeah.
I liked her. I liked her. What do you thought, Josh?
Well, I thought a lot of her role was taking the place of Shuri, she's going through a lot of emotional trauma, obviously
Mm-hmm.
through this film. So I think a lot of it was she was the new, young, bright spirit, highly intelligent woman that they have in this movie that kind of filled that role a little bit more. I will say though, I do think with Riri Williams, I think a lot of stuff with her. Is very much like I feel like that was such a Marvel insert, you know what I mean? Of like, listen, we need to build up excitement and enthusiasm for her Disney Plus show. Let's fit her in here because we got to build that enthusiasm for the Disney Plus show. I like the actress, I like the character, but I do think that felt a little like a definitely Marvel notes of like, listen, we got to add this character in here because we got to build this up.
True.
Yeah,
Felt that
for
too.
me, I kind of felt that, but then I was like going through in my head. If I didn't know that an Ironheart show was coming prior to seeing the movie, would I have felt differently about that? And honestly, yeah, I thought she kind of fits really well into this film, especially because we have a character in Shuri who is going through so much emotional turmoil off the death of her brother and the events that happen in the rest of the film. I felt like she kind of needed a reflection of herself in someone like Riri to remind her of that bright-eyed youth and innocence prior to the events of this film.
Yeah.
I I see what you're saying, Josh. Because I also did feel it felt like a more of like a Marvel decision instead of like a Ryan Coogler decision. Yeah, you need Riri in there. All right, sure, we'll put her in there. And it felt like that. I was like, all right, sometimes she just has to be there because it's an obligation. She has to be there. So I didn't feel her as like an actual like central like part of the cast. It just felt like she just has to be there. But still, I liked her. But I still have need more time with her to see like how I think of her as like as overall. So
Yeah,
I
for a
cannot wait for her
plot. Yeah,
show.
for a plot device insert, Ryan Coogler and Dominique Thornton did the absolute best they did.
Oh yeah. She was not anything like bad at all. Just
Yeah.
I'm just like, all right, I want to see more from her. See like to give my overall thoughts on the character.
Yeah. It's
here,
not
I
a
was like,
problem
yeah,
with the
yeah.
actress or the character. I think they're good. You know what I mean? It's just, I think in this movie, just like we already have, like Kasim mentioned, you already got a good long runtime. And I think with a lot of that runtime, it's like, you do have characters that I feel that I get kind of the short end of the stick. And mentioning, talking about like this movie having such a strong female presence with a lot of the Wakandans in it. You have Okoye, you have Shuri, you have Queen Ramonda, all knock it out of the park. I think they all do a wonderful job. And I'm not one of these weirdo dudes who's like, this movie is black female feminism and it's stripping male. I'm not one of those fucking
MCU.
Yeah, I'm not one of those weirdos at all. But I do think when you do have, with the T'Challa character, who was such a important character for a lot of black males, you did kind of miss a little bit of that black male presence in the movie. And I think you have Winston Dooku and Baku, who's kind of the only other black male that's prominent in this movie. It does feel like he kind of gets a short end of the stick here, and maybe you could have given a little bit of that time that setting up Riri Williams, and especially the stuff with Martin Freeman, who makes a return as Everett Ross here. I feel like you could have maybe given some of that time to him.
Martin Freeman's invited to the cookout, as far as I'm concerned.
He's great. I love him.
Yeah. Kasim, how did you feel about that? Do you feel like kind of that's similar?
Would you give that time to though?
What you say?
Time from Riri. What would you give the time to?
Well, like I said, I think you given that a little bit more time to Winston Duke as M'Baku. I think you could have given him, because he comes in and he's great in the moments he comes in. He gets some funny lines, but I think you could have just to really give him some more time to be more of a counsel to Shuri, to be more of a presence in the movie. Do you kind of agree with me there, Kasim?
I see what you mean. My only issue is if you put any more focus or time on him, then he's not really going to appear as much as counsel. It's going to put him too much in the forefront. Your counsel should always stay kind of behind you, or we're going to have like a Yzma Cusco situation. Emperor's New Groove, for those who didn't catch the reference.
Okay.
But Riri was super important for what you said earlier. She was basically the Shuri of this movie. She was the fun, the energy, the relief, but also make you feel good. Like you rooted for Riri in her moments of shine, and you were just kind of like, yeah, go get them type energy. I love the character. I think Dominique Thorne did great. I think she did the perfect thing, which was draw up interest for her show. I think they used her as as a way to connect this movie to the broader MCU without having to bring in, a whole bunch of other people or show how it's going to affect other heroes and stuff. Still keeping it basically a Wakanda movie, just like they did the first one.
And with Everett Ross, Martin Freeman's character, do you feel like they could have taken some of his time and given it to some other characters? Or
no, just because they also use his
Yeah.
No, because they used him to connect with someone else who's going to be very important or for what the MCU plans on doing after Kang. So that's the only reason they couldn't take away from his time.
Okay.
I thought Everett Ross was pretty well served here. That's what I thought. I didn't feel like they forced him in anywhere. I thought I would have liked to see him more, but you know what? I liked it for what I saw. I didn't think it was anything negative. I loved him here.
Yeah.
And as for M'Baku, I also felt I felt your criticism on that too. It was almost like, where is he? Where's he up to? And he does show up almost after the second half of the movie, comes back again. But I do like his role as a counsel role to Shuri, which I'm sure we'll see later. Which I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I love their dynamic throughout this because I feel like between Black Panther and Infinity War, we kind of got the sense that T'Challa and M'Baku developed this kind of brotherly friendship, and I see a lot of M'Baku just trying to take on that big brother role for Shuri, which kind of they broke my heart again.
Yeah. Speaking of the screen time stuff, you guys were annoyed about Lupita not being this much in the movie?
Speaking of Lupita, and I agree that you bring that up, Sebastian. I thought they did a good job with her. And what kind of they did, her kind of journey kind of makes sense. And like you said, a lot of this movie does feel like therapy for a lot of these characters or actors kind of going through after Chadwick's passing, because each have a moment to really talk about him. All the real prominent figures. You have, Shuri, you have Okoye, you have, Lupita, Nakia. There's even a scene where it's just, Okoye and Nakia just talking, just sitting down, just talking. You know what I mean, about how much they miss, T'Challa and everything.
And it's one of the most emotionally powerful. And this is like kind of a spoiler, but not really. Nakia stuck around during the blip because she didn't dust. So having that like emotional turmoil of having your lover vanish for 5 years and then get them back only to have them succumb to this disease, it's horrific. And her journey throughout the film is entirely informed by that, and it's one of the better emotional beats in the film.
Definitely.
Yeah. I did enjoy that. Like I said, I mean, you will go through an emotional roller coaster of this in this movie with a lot of kind of different things going on. I mean, strong opening, strong ending. And, some of the weaknesses I had, Sebastian mentioned it. Towards the end, it does the kind of, I think, the typical MCU Marvel thing that it does. I mentioned it before, the two big armies that fight each other. They have that in here. But I think the difference for me here is that I actually care about both sides. I actually care kind of about both sides, and I actually don't want to see, anybody kind of lose their life here. I think that's kind of the key difference. And it does have some moments where people are in certain costumes, and you'll see it in the movie, that look a little Power Ranger-y. It looks a little, you know what I mean? Kind of like,
yeah.
But I didn't. It was so bright, and so it just kind of was just like it looks a little super comic bookish. But that's kind of one thing too. I was just kind of like, not too sure about that. But I think this action, like,
I don't know if you missed the logo at the start of the movie.
Yeah, I mean, it just didn't. It just kind of
be too comic bookish.
It just looked a little out of place to me, and kind of where everything else kind of. Okay. I don't know. Even though you did have blue people, you know what I mean, kind of pop up. I just kind of it looks kind of a little just so out of place.
And he doesn't want us to compare it to Avatar.
I mean, I can see what you're saying on that. But I didn't feel that. I didn't feel that aspect of like, oh my god, this is like the Marvel formula again. I love that battle there. It wasn't even that too long. It wasn't like it took a whole chunk of the movie. It was like, it's happening right now. And then we have more movies to do. And
it kind of goes back into what I was saying, where Black Panther, the first one, was a Marvel film directed by Ryan Coogler. This is a Ryan Coogler film produced by Marvel.
Yeah.
And I think because of that, you see both sides of the actual like third act big Marvel battle. And even though one side is like a little out of pocket, you don't want to see them get too fucked up.
Yeah. So we got Astryd. Astryd has joined us.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going there, Astryd? I want to get your opinion, Astryd. You being a black woman, this being very much a black, female focused type film. What did you think about that in this?
Yeah, I really liked it. Thank you guys for having me. Sorry it took a minute. It was
Welcome.
really cool. Like, especially the parts with Riri and everything. There were some of what are the like Wakandan, the warriors? What are they called? Do you remember?
Dora Milaje.
Okay, no spoilers. But some of the like women that were casted in that are also like really impactful in the community. Like, there's someone, I think her name's like Michaela Cole or something. She played one of the
Michaela Cole, who is the like criminally not nominated for I May Destroy You.
Yeah. I also had a show called Chewing Gum. That was like her first show. It was ridiculous. It's funny. But it was dope that like we talked about this yesterday. It didn't feel forced. It felt really authentic. And I was actually nervous about Shuri like carrying the whole movie. Not that she's not but like Chadwick is such big shoes to fill, and I think she did a great job. And it didn't feel pandering, it didn't feel fake, and like I think that comes from the direction. So it was dope. It was really cool.
Nice.
Yeah, for me, even I was a little concerned about Letitia Wright having to fill those shoes because, especially over the last couple of years, she was really out of pocket talking about, anti-vax and like Corona is a hoax and all of that nonsense. But goddamn, she kind of ate in this movie.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
She does a great job stepping into the shoe, and some of this, it's hard to do. I mean, obviously, given all the things, and this movie had a rough production because it was, multiple people of the cast got COVID. She even got hurt on set that delayed production of it. So that so it had numerous different issues.
Yeah. Of course, Chadwick passing. Of course, Ryan Coogler getting a bad police call in Atlanta during production of this.
Yeah, I mean,
He was actually
go ahead.
at a bank like a few years ago or something. Got like arrested because they like were racially profiling him and they didn't know who he was.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right.
That was cool.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I kind of blame him. He should have did the Wakanda Forever salute. He should have did that. That would have kind of got him in there. So that's he kind of messed up. He fumbled the bag there. I think he fumbled.
Should have wore something like Wakanda related.
He should have wore a cap that said "I directed Black Panther" on it. He should have wore a cap.
Right.
On it that said
He should just have that on his business card. It's like director of Black Panther.
Yeah. You bring up a good point, Astryd. You bring up Michaela Cole, who's in this movie. She's one of the new members of the Dora Milaje that you see. And with this movie, her and Shuri kind of are both characters that deal with balancing the tradition and the past with kind of coming into the new age, very much Shuri is like, rejecting much of the ancestor, rejecting much of that tradition. Cause it's like, listen, I know science, I know, this is what I know technology, and how do I, kind of balance everything like that. I will say with the Michaela Cole character, she's not in, again, this is a long movie and you got a lot of different characters. You're not going to see a whole lot of her. And they do kind of throw in some, I think, weak representation there as far as with the LGBT.
Enough to get it banned in China.
Yeah.
Possibly. So I thought that was a little
it's
weak.
banned in China.
And everything like that. They kind of I think they just throw that in there.
Yeah. My dad is hella conservative, and that fucking triggered him.
Really?
It's like 3 seconds of representation, and it's like, I wish I didn't have to force this into Cooper. I just have to roll my eyes because I live in his house.
Did you feel that way, Astryd, about it? Did you thought that was a little kind of just thrown in there with no real concern or anything?
I think like when it comes to, like queer people in movies, there's coding and things, and I'm not gonna lie, that one the partner that she had, I don't know the actor's name or the name of the movie. I mean, if I had to guess, I'd definitely be like she's gay. Like just like it was the way the makeup is and her demeanor. Like I know that might sound kind of weird, but it's if you kind of she gives very much like Rocky Horror Show vibes and like not like
I can
negative way. Like I'm just not surprised that character is gay.
I can kind of see that coding. We did see Falcon and the Winter Soldier. She was Io. She was like one of the ones that was helping out Bucky get deprogrammed from the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
I think anything like LGBT is going to kind of feel like it's kind of just randomly thrown in at times. I don't think Disney has figured out a way to not make it feel like that yet. Maybe Eternals was like one, but I don't think that they give the relationship enough time. I think if you show a gay kiss, no matter what, it's gonna feel kind of like in your face, because every other relationship in the movie had time to like be built in.
But that one though, kind of.
But that's all. Yeah, but that's also I think it's mostly a victim of this is a like almost pushing 3-hour movie, and it has so much thematically to tackle that you kind of don't really have time to stop the movie in order to have this kind of representation. For what they do, I think it works fine.
Me too.
And
I'm feeling for.
Do you not think that was intentional though? Like I feel like especially when it comes to the
BTQ.
LGBTQ community, we tend those moments all stand out. But like a regular relationship or a heterosexual relationship, you have a moment where partners are just saying, "Oh, hey, I love you," and we're like, "Okay, they're they're a couple, they're together," and we just. So I feel like they deserve that same moment. They can just say like, "Oh, you love," and continue on. It doesn't have to be a big state.
That's pretty much where I'm at with this. It's like every time someone's like really up in arms about like a scene of LGBTQ representation, I just kind of think, would you feel exactly the same way if it was like between like different if it was like a hetero relationship? Would a single bit of your argument change? No? Then shut the fuck up.
No, I don't think so.
All right. I'm going to go around one more time for final thoughts. I'm going to give rating for it, and we're going to get into a little bit of a spoiler discussion. For me, I like this movie better than the first one. I'm not big on the first Black Panther, maybe like some people are. Some people think it's top 10, top 5 MCU movie. Not for me, but I did like this better. I think it's almost an improvement in every way over the first movie. Powerful performance from Angela Bassett as Queen Ramonda. I think she does it. I mean, she's putting a foot in it. Really, she really is. I haven't seen Angela Bassett be this good probably since What's Love Got to Do with It, probably. I think she's really living it. Letitia Wright steps into the shoes greatly, in this kind of more leading role here. And I think she does a wonderful job. I mean, when characters are really crying, I mean, this is probably the most emotional MC movie you're going to get because you can't replicate this. You can't replicate, a main actor like Chadwick Boseman dying and then having a moment like this. You really can't. So I did enjoy that a lot. Namor in this movie, Talokan, the Talokians, great stuff with them. Loved the empire that they showed. Loved when they shot that. Loved how it looked. Loved everything about that stuff. I think just some of the weak parts, I stated, some of the stuff with Martin Freeman coming in, Everett Ross, that felt like a Marvel kind of insert type thing of like, hey, we need to have this to build up, like Kasim said, to the broader MCU and everything, and we need to do that. Again, that felt kind of weak. You could have, I would have kind of wanted that time to be more given to some other Wakandans or maybe Talokians or anything like that. Same thing with kind of Riri Williams. I felt like a little bit that was a Marvel kind of insert type thing. Not to say she was bad. I just think that just felt like, hey, we got to build it up for the Disney Plus series. I think that the third act of this movie is better than the third act of the last movie. I think the action is better. The effects look a little bit better, even though there are some scenes where characters are standing and you can clearly see like they're standing in front of a green screen. It's pretty obvious they're standing in front of a green screen. But I still did enjoy the action of it, and I enjoy, kind of, I feel the conflict there, and I feel the conflict that the, Wakandans have, that it's kind of like us, kind of like the Wakandans against everybody, and I kind of like that aspect of the movie, how they kind of brought that in there. So for me, I would give it a very strong tune-in. I think it's a very strong tune-in for me. I'm going to toss it to Kasim and Astryd to give their final thoughts and rating for Wakanda Forever. What did you guys think?
Yeah, I really liked it. The cinematography was really dope. I think the first there was like more about the event than it was about the actual movie, and that's okay too. But this like actually was really fun to watch, and I love that it highlighted like the stunt performers because they make the movie exciting, you know what I mean? But yeah, pretty much what you said I agree with. So what's the like rating system? It's tune in or tune out?
So we have This Is Cinema. That's the highest rating you can give something. We have tune in.
Yeah, that's essentially like This Is Cinema is essentially like a 10 out of 10. This Is Cinema is like 8 to 9, and I wrote down the thing because even I can't barely keep it straight sometime.
And then there's tune in. You can go like low, strong tune in. That's kind of like a 6 or 7, or high kind of 8. Then we have a stream it.
Not 6. Not. Yeah, stream it. Then tune out.
Yeah.
Skip it, burn it, and waste a fucking film.
Yeah.
Okay. I would definitely. I'm gonna go. This might not be controversial, but I'm gonna say this is cinema, and only because coming off of the pandemic, I think what the movie does with in theme, I think we really all can relate to, unfortunately, on some level. And so I do think that's really high, but I think it's for the reason that like when it was dead quiet in the movie theater, I think it was quiet for Chadwick, but also for whatever we were all going through in the last few years personally. So that's why I say that.
All right, straight off the back, this is cinema because this movie does something I feel like all movies are supposed to do. It taught us something. This movie teaches you how to deal with grief, right? Grief is something that things will eventually have to go through. We will all have to deal with the passing of someone we really care about. And this movie shows you human ways of like really going through that emotion, how to accept that emotion for what it is, and different ways of dealing with it. So, cinema all the way.
Okay. Sebastian?
So I'm in between a very strong tune-in and this is cinema because there's a lot. Just again, the cinematography, the visuals, the score was phenomenal in this movie. For instance, again, Angela Bassett. I mean, she was like, "Gee, I have to do a great performance here. Like, I have to. It's in my contract." Everyone was great. The script was awesome. My only negatives I have is like maybe I want a little bit more of Tyler Khan. I want to know more about the culture, but like Nick said, like we might have that in his movie, so we'll see about that. But for this movie, I needed maybe a little bit more to know about them, so I can have a more connection to the conflict. Because I did think like we were focusing more on like, all right, let's focus a little bit more on Riri. Let's focus more on Everett Ross a little bit. We're gonna focus more on this other stuff here, and I wanted more to let's just focus more on the conflict we have here. Even then, even though we're jumbling all these things at the same time, I still thought it did pretty good. I need more stuff with Riri. I need to kind of see how I feel about her later on. And even though Namor, I love him, I still thought I knew a little bit more from him. I need a little bit more from his story, or a little bit more screen time to kind of get more connected with him. But still, even though like what we have, it was still great. I loved everything about this movie, but yeah, it was almost close to being amazing. So I'm in between a very strong tune-in for sure. Some of the negatives are more like spoilers. I can't say it right now.
Okay. Nick?
So the entire time leading up to the discussion of this movie, you and I were both in the same boat. Ryan Coogler had an impossible task ahead of him. He had to follow up the absolute cultural juggernaut that is the original Black Panther, and he had to do it without his original main star in the film. And then he had to kind of completely shift what the film was going to be about into process this tragic loss and kind of shift a lot of themes about it, because this film's themes, much like a lot of other projects in the MCU, is about grief, but I think it's done way better here. And for this massive handicap that Ryan Coogler had leading up into this film, he didn't knock it out of the park. He decimated that fucking park. I adored this movie. This is probably one of the best made films in the MCU, down from its cinematography, its screenplay, something that the original Black Panther was already one of the best, and it improves on that. It gives us this antagonist performance with Tenoch Huerta's Namor, and the best thing, we see his side of things, and he is this constantly engaging and charismatic presence. You want to be on his side, but then he just says that one little thing that's slightly off, and it's like, and not to speak the powerhouse performances. Angela Bassett just eat that fucking Oscar trophy because she 100% deserves it on this film. Letitia Wright, she steps up to the impossible task of having to follow up Chadwick Boseman's T'Challa, and it is one of the best performances in a film I've seen this year, let alone a comic book movie. For me, all of the weaknesses of the film, like we don't get a lot of time in Talokan. Again, I think any more time would have distracted from what this film was about, which is this like stages of grief process that characters are going through and throughout this film. And for what it is handled beautifully. And I was sobbing through like a solid 2/3 of this movie. This is cinema. If I can like cry throughout the entire runtime of your movie and I want to see it again, this is cinema.
Nice. All right, so we are doing a spoiler review for Wakanda Forever. This is Spoiler Thoughts Now. Kasim, you want to...
So it was really nuts. Yeah, so it's really nuts when Jim Carrey's Ace Ventura turned out to become the new Black Panther. It was really insane.
If Elijah he would say, "Oh, and Andrew Garfield shows up, he's a new Black Panther." But if he was here, there. Hey, let's go.
No, he would have said it during the non-spoiler talk.
Yeah. Hey, Javon Good. Yeah, we're doing spoilers right now, so I can understand if you want to head out there. Javon Good, we are doing spoilers right now. We're going to get into it. So, Kasim, you wanted to talk about some stuff in the spoiler discussion. What did you kind of want to discuss there?
First, I wanted to say, like, what was everyone's favorite part of the movie since we're doing spoilers now?
I need some time to think about it. But what was your favorite part?
My favorite part when Namor is talking to Queen Ramonda, and he's like, "Is there anything I can give you, or is there anything that Wakanda can give you?" You know, and he's like, "No, I don't want anything."
No.
Like, I'll tell America about you. And he goes, "And then I'll kill the princess. And after I'm done killing her, I'll come to Wakanda and kill you." Yeah. And I was like, "That's more.
Shit.
Thank you." That is Namor 100%.
That is Namor to a T. For me, it is probably like final confrontation between Shuri, who has taken the mantle of Black Panther, and Namor, because we're in the spoiler section. When Shuri takes the heart-shaped herb, it's not Ramonda she sees. It's not T'Challa, which I was like kind of relieved that we didn't get a CGI deepfake Chadwick Boseman. Instead, we get the return of Michael B. Jordan's Killmonger. It's like, girl, we are way more similar than you would like to believe. It's like, are you going to be noble or are you going to get shit done?
Yeah, and apparently they got a hair salon in the afterlife. Apparently, he been going to a good hairdresser.
They were touching up them dreads.
Yeah, he got somebody working on.
Hey, look good.
Twisting them, I guess.
Auntie.
What about you, Astryd? What was your favorite moment?
I was gonna say that moment just for the fact it was like less about Shuri for me and more about how it feels like to have that realization that maybe the person you don't want to be like, or some attributes you really don't like that you might have, and like that's not the worst part of it, but it's like what you do with that. And I know you said what about the deepfake Chadwick. I think like I went Howard and stuff too, because they named the Performing Arts Center after him now. But part of me wanted that, but I was happy when I didn't get it, and like a Furious 7 moment, but no, yeah, it was him, and I think it was exciting for everybody in the theater too, the reveal, and it was dope to see him. So that was actually my favorite part, because I think she felt abandoned, which is how she felt in life, and I think that it was good, like, you know what I mean, like really see that in.
Yeah, Sebastian.
Yeah.
Any scene with Angela Bassett is my favorite part. I was like, yes,
her fucking black mama talking down to the U.
Hell yeah. I was like,
yes. Here's my switch.
I mean, that scene where she just talks intensely to Okoye, it's just like grounding her. I'm like, you're stripped away from your duty and everything. I was like, goddamn.
And I'm so. And it's one of the times I'm happy whenever I'm like predicting films and I'm wrong, because I thought that scene was going to be the opening of the film. I thought that was going to be like a flash in between of like, this is happening like right at the tail end of the blip, and she gets Shuri and T'Challa back right then and there. And I'm so happy I was wrong.
But if I
Because
have
the
to,
opening that we do get is so powerful.
if I have to pick a favorite scene, and I'm glad they didn't bring like a CG Chadwick Boseman, because that moment, the moment they were like, oh, we're gonna bring Black Panther back, I was like, what are they gonna do right here? I don't know about this. I'm glad they didn't go that route. But my favorite part was the very, very ending of the movie with Shuri at the beach, just reminiscing of her brother, and just the quick clips they showed. I was like, just like no music, was quiet. I was like, God damn, you're gonna make me cry right now.
And finally letting her have this huge emotional.
Exactly.
Yeah, because that's like a common thing in grief. It's like some people just dive into work. They just go into, things they can control.
And
I was gonna ask, how did it feel to like see her, because it almost was like a different person when she was with T'Challa, like that younger, almost like obnoxious, bubbly person, to like this more serious person that she has to be. Like, how was it seeing that, and did that like impact you in any way, any of you guys?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
It felt too real, because I've people, and I've changed as a result of that grief, and seeing it tackled in this way, it felt cathartic.
No, I love seeing her growth. I love seeing how she dealt with grief, how it affected her, how it affected her relationship with her mom, like with her loved ones, how she just gets enraged and just doesn't want to deal with what happened. I thought very raw performance, emotional performance from Letitia Wright, which I loved her in this movie. And
Right.
the one thing, if I'll say the one thing that I was kind of like, I don't know about this, I need more time to see how I feel about it, is her as Black Panther. Not that I'm against the idea of her as Black Panther, it's just when I see her in the suit and I see her fight, I'm like, I don't know. It doesn't feel...
Well, it's like the whole idea of like the heart-shaped herb and like this, like, gives super strength. It's like it doesn't matter if you're like built like Henry Cavill or not.
Yeah. It's more of like, I need more time to see like in the next appearance, whenever that will be. Maybe I think she'll be cool. I want to see her hang out with Peter Parker in one movie. That'll be fun to see.
Yeah.
But I need to see more. Like, what do you guys think about her as Black Panther?
It was kind of nice. I was seeing her kind of be in the suit, her take the herb. I will say, I'm not trying to body shame the girl. I mean, the girl kind of does look like if she stepped on a crack, she'd fall through it a little bit. Like kind of like in that episode of Family Guy, it was like Kate Moss or something like that. She just kind of let the wind can kind of just blow her away.
Just kind of blew in the
you know what I mean? A little bit, but I thought like it was kind of interesting that how they handled the battle between her and Namor, because I was like, well, how is she going to fight him? Because this dude, I mean, he's probably an expert fighter, and she's not really known for that so much. She's just a scientist, all about that. How is she going to take care of that? And I think they kind of did that very well. And also, between just the Talokans and the Wakandans in general, I thought they'd handle that pretty well, because these are two advanced civilizations. How can you compete? You don't want to really downgrade one above the other one, even though I did hear some people say that.
I kind of at first thought that they were trying to like overplay how awesome the Talokan were by like making Wakanda look weaker by comparison, and like towards the third act, I don't think that at all. Even like conversations like with our Tolkien white guy and Martin Freeman at the CIA, they're like, yo, you do not want to engage in Wakanda, because that is not going to go well.
No.
Yeah, Kasim.
I mean,
what did
one
you?
of that said it best. Like, we've never had to fight anybody, who's also had uranium. So this is new for them. They had to experience this kind of war. And to be honest, I don't think Wakanda's really that used to war. Like,
Or not having.
yeah. I mean, they've been so far ahead of people for the longest time. They've never really had a fight. Now the Talokans who prepared their entire lives to do nothing but this. Because Namor can remember. He physically saw what happened, or when the colonizers came and what they did. So he's been preparing his people for something that he himself experienced firsthand. is a little different from when, oh, my grandpa says I should train for this because this could possibly happen, and then the grandson and, down on, it kind of gets watered down.
Yeah, and it's like, no, motherfucker, I seen it.
So, and I love his origin story. I love his complete origin story.
Yeah.
And the actual origin of how he got his name. It's
I was like,
chills.
I'm down with that. I'm down with that idea.
Yeah. So, Case, I want to ask you. So, do you think they, in any way, kind of weaken the Wakandans in order to compete with the Talokan or anything like that?
The first movies that fair, because think about it, all of the Talokan, how do you say it?
Talokians.
Yeah, it's just the Talokan.
Okay, everybody, all of the Talokans are kind of mutants because they're all descendants of someone who bit from the heart-shaped herb. So they're not. The Wakandans are still human. They're advanced. They're strong. They're smart, but they're human. These people live under the pressure of the ocean. Like their bone structure, all of that would be
They're built different.
They're built different.
They're just built different.
Just built different.
When you had Okoye fighting their general, and like how when he swung and she blocked it, she had to stab her spear in the ground just to stop and actually block the move. He wasn't just magically strong enough to block and take his attack, and that was choreography.
Fight. Oh, the choreography.
Yeah, that choreo.
Great.
Yeah, that entire scene is amazing, especially because they delve into a lot of hard. Because Okoye takes out a couple of the Talokan first, and then this general is just like, "Yeah, go back to Namor," and they just get up, and it was like, "Oh, fuck."
But, a good point about how what's his name again? Neymar, he's their god, Namor. He's like God, literally their god, not like not like a god, like literally their god. So if you got Jesus on the sideline watching you, you might you know what I mean, go a little harder. So I mean, not to downgrade Wakandans. I definitely think they're about their people. But I think M'Baku's saying that, we knew it, but I think saying it out loud, it was a good point. That if you kill this, hurt this man, it's not.
Yeah, it's like eternal war.
That would have been.
Forever.
I'm sorry, Wakanda would have got wiped out.
So I think because
we saw what happened when Namor was barely trying.
Oh, almost with him.
Yeah.
If goes black, our phone died, but we have 20%.
Okay. Yeah. So with the Talokians, because some of them could die, right? If you did certain things, or could die? What did you?
If you drive them, they die.
All right.
Well, all of them can die. It's just they're basically super soldiers. They all have better. They're just better.
Just better.
Of General was getting shot at, and he just straight ate it, and then the other, the lady getting on the helicopter, actually shot and killed. Well, did they die though?
Yeah, a few of them did.
So I guess it depends. That was I was not really sure.
But
yeah, I'm not sure how they die or not.
Yeah, because
it's Nakia had to use a special gun just to kill one of them. Exactly. So it's human bullets are probably nothing to them because their skin is so dense from just living in the bottom of the fucking ocean.
I'm so glad that the Talokians are not just blue people, because I didn't see any trailers, but I saw the pictures. I'm like, are they just gonna be like the Na'vi? What the fuck is this?
I was like, oh, thank God.
Okay, cool. Yeah, all right. That's not the case.
Yeah. We talked about it last night too. I think to add to your point, I completely agree. But it was kind of like in Princess and the Frog when Tiana's she's black, but she's a frog the whole time. Or Soul, okay, black, but he's a blue blob. I think especially for that is Mexican or has heritage in Mexico, it's cool to see them as blue, but it's also nice to see yourself represented. And at the end, she would be blue and then tone depending on where the water was. I thought that was cool. Yeah, I agree.
I also love how Namor just dropped the mutant word, oh, I'm a mutant. Oh shit.
Yeah,
Again, the X-Men, where are they gonna show up? Like,
I think that's the
It was
first
so
first time.
yeah. It's like glad that we didn't get the. It's I think it's the second time they said mutant in the MCU because the very end of Miss Marvel, they dropped it for the first time.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, you're gonna keep teasing it. What's it gonna happen? Let's go.
So glad we didn't get a fucking X-Men themed needle drop
Oh,
because
yeah,
that would have just completely distracted.
Yeah. What'd you say, Case? I'm sorry. What'd you say?
When Kamala Khan said that, well, when the guy said that she was a mutant at the end of Miss Marvel, that was the final nail in the coffin for the Inhumans.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, they're done.
Actually, matter.
Hey, if you want to get mad at Kevin Feige, get mad at Jeff Loeb because he fucked that up for y'all.
I mean, no, just suck. I'm sorry, they've sucked for a long time. Black Bolt.
But hey, Black Bolt did have a great
mouth.
Black Bolt did have a
mouth.
Black Bolt did have a good comeback in Doctor Strange.
Did he though?
Well, I mean,
Did he
before his head got turned into a souffle, he did have he's pretty cool in that a little bit. Kasem, you mentioned, so now we're into spoilers. You mentioned that the character that shows up with Everett Ross brought to MCU. What did you kind of like about that stuff?
So that told us 100% that she's kind of she's taken over General Thunderbolt's position. So when we get to, I really see her leading. There's a whole big rumor that I don't know if it's been confirmed in that Harrison Ford is going to take over.
Yeah, that's confirmed. Yeah. Harrison Ford is Everett Ross in the MCU going forward. But I think, it's nice seeing her and seeing this, again, because Julia Louis-Dreyfus is one of the great comedic actors, and having her play this role where she is essentially Marvel's Amanda Waller, it is just so fun seeing her chew up scenery.
Somebody else brought this up, so it is not my idea, but with Harrison Ford, I think it's a dude named Nando Cuts. With Harrison Ford coming, that's a big signing. I don't see him doing multiple movies, but I think he's going to be the main antagonist of the movie Thunderbolts. I think the team is going to be a team put together to go finish him off. I think he's going to go to Red Hulk. Yeah.
Yeah. Sebastian, what did you think about Julia Louis-Dreyfus coming in this movie?
So I was very surprised. I don't know if they leaked it or not. But when she showed, I was like, oh shit! And I liked her connection with Everett Ross. Like they used to be married at one point. I was like, oh, that's a cool little info, twist there.
Just the nonchalant shit talking. It was like, like an 8-hour drive to DC. Yeah, we have plenty of time to talk.
Yeah, and their chemistry was pretty cool. I was like, all right, I can see there was this relationship that they're not amicable right now. They're not in good terms right now. But they still care about each other in somewhat, if you can say that. But I was nervous.
I just love the turn. It's like, listen, it's Director Fontaine. As she pulls handcuffs out of the kitchen drawer, which did she have those? Did she put them in that drawer just to pull them out at that moment?
Probably, I guess for to act it seems like she's normal for Everett Ross, maybe. But once she showed up, I was a little bit nervous. I'm not gonna lie, because the other appearances that we've seen her, she's more like a comedic kind of almost kooky character. I was like, we don't need this for Wakanda Forever. We don't need this for this very serious movie. But it was pretty toned down for this movie. She had her moments of some cool little jokes, but they weren't extravagant or ooh, look at me. She wasn't trying to steal scenery. She was pretty level.
Yeah, I think there was an undertone of menace with her entire scene, with most of her scenes, because Everett Ross is on Wakanda's side. He's leaking info to them, and she is the director of the CIA. So there's this undercurrent of tension, and I wonder how much of all of those comedic moments are just to throw off Ross and just to try to get him to break.
Exactly, and this is the first time I actually felt intimidated by her, because the other appearances were listen, she might be just a funny leader, but I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, her appearances in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I just felt, oh cool, it's so cool to see Julia Louis-Dreyfus get to chew up scenery in the MCU, especially as this universe's analog to Amanda Waller.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but yeah, I liked her, and she wasn't cool, like trying to steal scenery. She wasn't like trying to do anything like
When she was,
annoying, but she was cool.
Oh,
I
would you,
knew she was badass.
oh, you knew she.
Oh, really?
Real quick, another big kind of thing that was in this movie, and I liked how this movie wasn't trying to throw too much into that. But there is a mid-credit scene in this movie. In the mid-credit scene, which I kind of heard a leak that was kind of going to happen. That T'Challa did have a son with Nakia, Lupita Nyong'o's character. What did you all think about
Shit,
that?
I would have been trying to clap. Shit, I would have been clapping those cheeks nonstop if I were him.
I mean, my thoughts on that, the first thing I thought when he said his name, I was like, wait, is he gonna replace Black Panther in like 20 years down the line? Like, is he gonna be the new T'Challa? What's going on here? But I did like the reveal. I was pretty cool. I mean,
It
pretty on the wraps for sure.
yeah, it's like
that.
yeah, all those thoughts of him eventually becoming Black Panther, none of that crossed my mind. It felt more like this, like a final goodbye to Chadwick Boseman. It felt like the final nail in the coffin for that character, and just this eulogy for him.
Oh yeah, and the kid's adorable, by the way. He's super. Adorable.
Yes, he fucking is.
What did you think?
All right.
Kasim, Astryd.
I completely think that kid had nothing to do with like a goodbye to Chadwick. I think that kid was for the point of saying that, hey, T'Challa will still be here as a character, because a lot of people are saying, hey, let's cast him, is because he is a very strong and important character for Black males. Like, I remember my nephew was so when Black Panther came out. Like, he was 6 at that time. He was like, oh, he's so cool, uncle. You know, like, he saw himself in it, and in that character. So by having this kid come and still have the name T'Challa, you can continue that legacy without, erasing Chadwick. You can honor Chadwick, but still keep the legacy of T'Challa.
Mm-hmm. And what I love about that scene, again, like this whole movie didn't feel like a Marvel movie for me, and that mid-credit scene is like a good example of that, because it didn't feel like a stinger for what's coming up next. It didn't feel like, oh my god, Kang the Conqueror's
it wasn't like
what?
It was like, yeah, it wasn't a hey, it's Blorka, it's me, Blorko kind of post-credit scene.
Yeah, right. It wasn't like, oh, Kang the Conqueror's just hanging out at the beach, or someone else is like, we need to talk. It wasn't that kind of scene. So I love it was just a part of the movie, a part of the story. And that was it. No big stingers, anything. So for a movie like itself, it was a cool conclusion for that movie. So it was nice.
Astryd, I wanted to ask you a question. I asked Kasim this, and to get his opinion, but I had a thought about, like, as much as this movie does have a strong female presence, I thought a little bit it was lacking, as Kasim was, talking about his nephew and seeing, having a black boy, seeing a black male character in T'Challa and having that be representation of him. Do you think the movie at all, Wakanda Forever, was lacking a little in black male representation? Do you think that was lacking at all, or?
I think, like, in comparison to the first one, or just in general?
Well, I guess both, and I guess a little bit in comparison, because obviously T'Challa's now gone, and everything. I guess in comparison to the first one, I guess.
Yeah, I would definitely say in comparison, it felt like, I wouldn't say any of the movie felt like it lacked, but I definitely feel like that, like, camaraderie that came around for young boys, and just like the Halloween part of it, and just feeling excited about a character. I definitely do feel bad that that didn't happen this movie, but I think in communities in general, in the Black community, especially with gun violence and things, unfortunately, it is like a real consequence, and I think it's something that a lot of young Black men are familiar with, in terms of maybe a role model or someone leaving or not being there, like something happening or tragedy. I don't think funerals are anything that are like uncommon, unfortunately, and though like we go to the movies to escape, I think it's something that a lot of people can identify with. So I think the women being and filling those roles is like actually really accurate to what happens in real life, and it does feel like lack, but that's like the point. Like, it is missing. Like, a woman can't fill the roles that a man does in that way. So unfortunately, I think that's just how it felt when Chadwick died, and I think that's something that will change. It was nice to have M'Baku. Like, I feel like he broke the ice. His joke of like, "You bald-headed demon," like that was the first laugh
Yeah.
that I. So that was nice, but it was a perspective I actually didn't think about that much as a woman. But I still think it's really important that because T'Challa would like we liked him because he was strong and stuff. But it was more about who he was as a kid. But I didn't mean to like make it like that. But I think it's something, unfortunately, that we can identify with just like grief. So I think the women being strong and coming together was like very intentional in that way.
You honestly just made me think of something. So, like, growing up, my mom is very outspoken, very upfront. But my dad, on the other side, is very sit back. He'll make a couple of jokes and just super chill. But I never looked at my dad and like, oh, you weren't like a strong, male role model. I think we're so used to seeing like, all right, if this person's going to be a role model or a good representation, they have to be in the lead of everything. But seeing that M'Baku was perfectly fine being here, being the Fury, right? And he played the role. He did everything he was supposed to do very well. And I think that's still very good representation. Maybe we have to look a bit differently at it than what we're used to, but I think it does the same. He's still a strong representation for like young African American males. And then at the end of the movie, he's like, Shuri's busy. I'm here to challenge to be king.
Yeah. That was beautifully said by the both of you.
Yeah.
Very beautifully said. So you bring up that scene with M'Baku challenging for the king. So is it going to be a situation where there's going to be a new ruler of Wakanda? It's not going to be Shuri, and Shuri's just going to be the Black Panther, or is she just going to, or is she going to be both the ruler and the Black Panther? What do you guys think about that?
I don't know where we can go.
I think just off of this film, I feel like she's more. Yeah, I'm the Black Panther. I'm the protector, but I'm still not ready to rule. I think is like one of her big arcs, because I think a lot of this film is about her actually processing and dealing with the loss of her brother and eventually of Queen Raimonda, and having to accept that responsibility of having to get past a lot of her hang up about just faith in general, because I think that's a huge allegory with the heart-shaped herb, because she is very much technologically focused. Says the Black Panther is a relic, and her saying no, Wakanda needs this.
Yeah. What percentage?
He could be the ruler.
Yeah. Are you getting low on the percentage there, Case?
We're about to log off before it cuts off.
Okay. Well, I'll let you guys sign off. Pimp your stuff and your links and your socials if you wanted to do that real quick. There, Case.
Stuff. Oh.
Anyway, thank you guys. I appreciate it. I think you all have really interesting perspectives, and it's nice to like talk about it a little bit deeper than just like the spectacle. So this is cool. I appreciate making the space.
Oh yeah, you guys have great perspectives.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I love nerding out and geeking out with people of like-minded.
Hell yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It was a pleasure having you guys on. Thank you for coming on, Kasem. Thank you for inviting Astryd. You guys were terrific and wonderful. I'd love to have you guys on again. Absolutely.
Oh, thanks,
Thank
man.
you.
Have a great day.
Good night.
Have a good night.
Thank you. Good night.
All right. So is there anything else you guys wanted to discuss spoiler wise?
See, I want to get into a big one. This is one of my. It's not like a negative. It's like a gripe or something. I don't know. I'm still processing this. It's Raimonda's death. That's something I'm still wrapping my head around, because it kind of felt a little bit unceremoniously, like the actual death, not like the funeral or whatever. It's just like when it happened, it felt like the movie didn't hint like this was gonna happen, because I thought like, oh, she's gonna just get Riri, she's gonna get out, we're gonna be fine. And then it's like, oh no, she died. I'm like, wait, what? She's dead? Wait, what happened here? It didn't feel like it was leading up to that event. It just felt like it just happened. I was like, oh goddamn, and I don't know if it takes away or is it too much. of an impactful event because we already have like T'Challa's gone,
Hmm.
we have like Namor, all this stuff happening, and then we have her gone. Like Shuri's alone. Like there's no more.
Mm.
Like the T'Challa family's gone basically. And I'm like, God damn.
Mm.
I mean, still is impactful. It's a very shocking death, but I was still more. I would have wanted maybe maybe more gracefully handled. I think, but it's still like the funeral, everything leading up before that or after was phenomenal.
Well,
but yeah.
Yeah, I think for the story that this movie is telling about grief, about Shuri getting to her absolute lowest point prior to, where the film eventually resolves, because after Raimunda's death, Shuri is on a quest for vengeance, which Killmonger rightfully points out. He's like, everything I did was for revenge, so why are you seeing me right now?
True.
And the conversation kind of cuts off, and then we see a flashback of, I want to hear Namor beg before I kill him. And it's this very dark turn for the character of Shuri that I don't think we really saw before. But then those final moments of, this isn't good for anybody. It's like, we'll look out for Talokan, but don't fuck with Wakanda.
Now, I guess like her death was was very impactful. It's just the way like how he actually died. It was like I don't know. It still wasn't a bad death or anything. It's just it didn't. I don't know. Wasn't handled as
for me. Some character deaths are only like poorly handled if they don't impact the story after that. If they don't impact any of the characters, if they don't inform somebody's arc throughout the screenplay of the film, which is why I think the screenplay of this film is probably like top 3 of Marvel. Period. Because that death so informed Shuri's arc and towards the 3rd act of the film.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I guess maybe it's more of a personal thing, but even though we kind of did see this later, we saw her in the ancestral plane. But I would have loved if she had like a last conversation with her in the ancestral plane when she got the heart shape. What's it called again?
Heart shape.
Yeah, the heart shaped herb.
Yeah, I would have liked if she one final conversation, kind of a good send off for Angela Bassett's character, and then we get back to it. But that's fine. It's only a personal thing for me. I still love the twist with Killmonger coming back. I love that, and what it means to her, Shuri's character. It was still good. It's kind of sad that we also didn't get a resolution between Raimunda and Okoye because they kind of left in bad terms and didn't get that resolved. And I was like, that's sad.
Yeah, but that's sad. Yeah, but that's also life and
that's
death.
True.
Sometimes you don't get those goodbyes.
You don't
get to resolve everything. Which it's.
Yeah, I thought about that too, Sebastian. That was really sad considering they never had any resolution there. I thought that was pretty sad. Her and Okoye, yeah.
And Okoye was like super distraught about it. I was like, God damn, like Wakanda means a lot to her, and serving Wakanda means a lot to her.
Yeah.
To like her queen, like someone that she looked up to, like to kind of just talk to her like that and get that resolved. I was like, God damn, that's super sad. That's super sad. But I hope Okoye's iron suit doesn't come back. That shit looked bad. I'm sorry. that Iron Man suit. I was like,
that suit it's not a high point for Marvel.
No.
Very rarely has Marvel actually missed when it came to costume design, and it had to happen eventually.
I thought she wasn't gonna wear it because I love how at the beginning she was like, "That shit looks ugly." I'm like, "All right, she's not gonna wear it." And they're like, "No, she's actually gonna wear it." I'm like, "Oh."
I thought it was just gonna be handed to Michaela Cole's character. I thought, not her.
Yeah,
but
that would have been cool. Actually, I think that would have been better if it's. The suit still looks
because it felt like Michaela Cole's character was more like leaning away from tradition. It's like this works better. Why not do it? It was just like how she's not using the spear throughout the film as Adora, and I thought it would have worked better. But we also didn't get much with Michaela Cole prior to giving them the blue Predator suit.
Right.
Yeah.
I literally have no idea what else to call it. That's literally
Yeah,
what
it
it
looked
is.
like a blue butter suit.
Yeah.
I was like, please don't make us come back in the next movie or the next appearance with Okoye because I don't need to see that again.
Yeah, that's,
You know what? Yeah, Marvel. This is like one of the times where your shameless need to sell toys is gonna like
Right.
work in your favor because those suits need an upgrade.
Yeah, maybe I'm also the minority, but I was also glad the ending. They were like, "Oh, the Iron Heart suit, it's not coming back." I was like, "Good," because I didn't think it
Yeah,
looked that
that
great
suit
anyway.
isn't coming back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was like, I'm glad
that
it's
suit
not-
isn't coming back.
did you not like that suit either?
I like the look of the suit.
Nah, I mean it looked better because I saw a picture beforehand, but it looks better in life, when it's actually movement. But like the whole heart shaped thing in the back, I don't need that. I don't know. I like more.
I think that's kind of like her
Character
thing.
name is Iron Heart.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like her thing. That's like her thing. But
I was like, I don't know. Maybe in the Disney Plus show it'll be a more slim suit. It looks a little bit better, more toned down. But no, I like how they focus a little bit on the Dora Milaje. They kind of flesh them out a little bit. I like that because we always see them maybe in the background, maybe doing something, but to see them more stuff in here, I was like, oh, I love this. I like seeing that.
Yeah, and seeing the actual culture of the Dora, some of them in their lives outside of that, especially with Michaela Cole, I thought was a really nice touch, even if it was a tad underdeveloped for my taste.
Yeah, no, it was very nice. Obviously, yeah, there's a lot of characters. I didn't feel it was like a complete negative for me, but yeah, hopefully we get to see her back in some point in the future because I really liked her and I want to see her flesh out more. But yeah, it's just for a little bit that we saw from Dora Milaje. It's like, oh, this is nice. This is cool.
There is that Wakanda series coming. So that I think that's like a Disney Plus.
Oh, right, that is still coming out.
They're still doing that, I believe, the Wakanda series.
Okay, I forgot about that. So that's good to hear. Nice.
All right, so that was Black Panther, Wakanda Forever.